people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American.
What's going on, Patriots? We got a special broadcast today. You know, we typically don't broadcast on Thursdays, but NAGA reached out to us, and when you hear exactly what's going on and what we're talking about, one, you're probably going to get pissed off. Two, you're going to learn something. I guarantee it. So we have a former sports producer and a descendant of Louis Francis Sackalexas. Now, he joins us to wake you up and hold Cleveland to their promise of retaining the name of the baseball team as the Indians. But in an act of blatant racism, they are erasing the Native American representation across the board, from your grocery stores to your local sports team. It's up to you and me to wake the people up and educate them on the tactics of those who are trying to erase the Native American culture in an effort to not seem racist, all the while being racist. That's exactly what they're doing. So it's up to you and me to point it out and to hold these people to account. So I'm going to bring up with you a couple of guests that I have here with me. We got Jim, my co-host, obviously, native patriot, and we had Tony from NAGA. Now, these guys, we're going to have a panel. We're going to talk about this, and I'm sure we're all going to learn a little bit today. Jim's going to break down the history of the name and the team, and just kind of educate us on where did the name come from? Why were they called the Cleveland Indians? And then we'll end up at why they changed the name later. But can you tell us what you know? Can you clue us in?
Hi, well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Obviously, the Indians started in 1901. By the time 1920 came along, they went ahead and had a couple more nicknames to under their belt. But the mainstay was obviously the Indians that everybody knows. I don't want to bore everyone with too much of the history of it. And as a direct descendant of Louis Francis Sackalexas, who was a bloodline relative of mine, the Cleveland Indians are named after, essentially, in honor of his Native American heritage, being the first Native American baseball player. It was an honor, for the tribe in itself to even, receive that moniker, for Louis, they have that. And what
year was that?
1920, but after that
1920. So this is 44 years before the civil rights movement, just to put that in context for everybody. 44 right. years before the civil rights movement. And I mean, I guess it's about 60 years before they the natives occupied Wounded Knee again to fight for civil rights even more. But yeah, go ahead, continue. Sorry about that. I just wanted to put a little context in there.
Yeah. So like I said, the name Indians is not by no means racist whatsoever. I don't understand why that's even a thing. But the Louis, the tribe Penobscot and Passamaquoddy had never had a problem with this. There was never been any issues. They've never, I think Penobscot's maybe petitioned against the Chief Wahoo caricature, the latest version that everyone knows, the one that's on my hat here. But other than that, there was no, issues with the Cleveland Indians organization naming the team after him in honor of him being the first Native American baseball player to participate, obviously, in baseball. But and I don't understand why this is happening, why we changed the name, other than, maybe a little hypocrisy by the Dolans. They need to be exposed for that. That's for sure.
I absolutely
when you say hypocrisy, give the background to that a little bit. So they made some very big promises that they broke.
Yeah, they essentially said, in a nutshell, that they would do everything in their power to fight for the Indian namesake to stay. They made no bones about it. They straight up said they were going to do everything that they could. And long story short, after I would believe after the 2016 World Series that we were in, Rob Manfred came in and just started blowing things up. He essentially told the Indians management to get rid of Chief Wahoo, which they started, obviously doing. And then after the 2021 season, they turned into the Guardians. But that was all pressure by Rob Manfred, who essentially said he didn't. This was all, the Dolans who did this. But that's essentially just not true. They wanted the Dolans to take this on the chin, and they did, and they ate it.
What kind of force, though? Go ahead, sir.
There's a lot of proponents out there that say that the Chief Wahoo mascot is based on stereotypes, and I mean this petition that you're talking about is for the Cleveland Indians name itself. Right, the name itself. I would like to push a little bit further, and actually, I don't know if it's possible to get the mascot of Chief Wahoo back, but this is something that has been around since 1944 is when they officially changed the logo to that Chief Wahoo mascot. And the stereotypes things is what really gets me, and how they kind of attack that and say that it's a racist stereotype of a Native American, and it's like, well, he's got a big nose and he's smiling all doofy. It's like, well, he's got a big smile, and a lot of natives have big noses. I don't know if you know this, but I got a pretty big nose myself. So it seems weird when people are saying that, like, oh, it's based on stereotypes. It's like, well, what am I supposed to feel? It's like if seeing Chief Wahoo, in that way is racist, then what do you think when you see me? Like, why do you have to remove it completely? Yeah. And I mean, you're absolutely right about as far as natives and Indians, because I've actually had this question quite a few times on Twitter or I guess X, formerly known as Twitter. People saying, do you prefer Indian or do you prefer Native American? It's, well, I say Native American because I like the sound of it better, but I really have no issue with Indian. I mean, those phrases are synonymous as far as I'm concerned. I mean, back in, we have the National Congress of American Indians, which was started, this was started in 1944. So, I mean, right. Native Americans have been using the term Indians for 80 years now, or I guess that's 60 years. Yeah, 60 years.
We're indigenous.
No, it's 80 years. Math.
We're indigenous. I mean, but the caricature essentially started in 1932, I believe. There was one before Chief Wahoo. That's a little bit more, I don't know, playful, whatever you want to call it, less caricature-y. But as you were saying, the name Indian, there's no one understands how that is offensive. No one in Cleveland to this day, there's 70-80% of us are still dumbfounded by the fact that the team bowed down just to change it, and it just didn't make any sense. And there's plenty of people, guarantee it right now, that have left saying that they're never coming back to the Jake or Progressive Field, wherever you want to call it. They're just because they changed the name. I mean, they have lost a generation of fans for that, and they're trying to gain more fans with this new fan base of being on their phone all the time, barely watching the game when they do go. You know what I mean? It's very disheartening.
Well, I mean,
very disheartening.
This has been an American. I mean, baseball is the American pastime, right? I mean, this sport is as American as it gets, and the fact that it's been around for so long, and they're so willing during this era of where there's multiple cancelings of Native American representation throughout the country. I mean, they've now gotten rid of the Redskins, and they're called the what are they? The Washington
Commanders.
Yeah,
for a short period of time. They're getting ready to change their name again.
Yeah, we got the Cleveland Guardians. We got the Land O'Lakes lady gone. We got Red Man Chew gone. It's like every time that it has now become popular that when you see Native American representation or even minority representation in general, they want to get rid of it because they'll always try to claim that this is racist. It's I mean, just having the depiction, they'll say that it's based on racist stereotypes. And it's like, It is so frustrating to me because I personally like to see the Cleveland Indians mascot Chief Wahoo. I thought that was cool. The Redskins is the same exact it's in the same spirit. And the fact that they're going through a cultural purge right now, and the teams are so willing to do this because they don't, instead of standing up for what they believe in or standing up for and actually being respectful to the natives, they're just like, yeah, just get rid of them. Yeah. Indian's name gone. Cleveland, the Chief Wahoo gone. We'll just get rid of it. We'll just hide the natives in the corner. We'll put them in the cupboard, and then nobody will see them. And that way, we won't be racist anymore. It's like,
right?
What are you guys doing?
So
That's
there should
crazy.
be. I mean, you'll have no mascot. You'll have no depiction of anyone, of any heritage, of any culture, of anywhere at all, any place. And then what then what do you have? And then we talked about this briefly before we came on air. It's like, all you have to do literally is give those those progressives, give them whatever they want. If you just gave it to them and you sat back and look, what does the world look like now that I give them everything that they asked for?
Well, there's no men, there's no women, there's just an amorphous blob.
No
there's
mom, no dad.
There's no cultures, there's no races. It's just, you got to be a gray blob, and you can't do anything or say anything, or you can't dance in the rain. You can't send smoke signals. You can't do none of that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, you're exactly right.
It's kind of funny being a Cleveland fan, because we went through a deep, dark depression when Art Modell moved the Browns. Now, they were trying to take the name with them. And as a fan base, we won that battle.
I can tell you that we didn't want to, and I'm just speaking as a Baltimore guy, right? We didn't want the name. We wanted our name back. We wanted the Colts back.
But
we ended up with the Ravens. It's a little Edgar Allan Poe-esque name. And it was cool.
Nevermore.
But we wanted the Colts back.
So you would think that the craziness that we went through as a city, as a fan base, national news, that we pretty much the talking heads in New York were like, God, just give them their name back, and we'll just move the team and make them change it to a different name. Now, you would think that Paul Dolan would be like, well, I saw, he didn't own the team at the time. It was still, Dick Jacobs. You would assume that Paul Dolan's like, well, I don't want that type of backlash. But here he bowed down. I don't know if he got some type of reparation for it. No pun intended. But I have my reservations.
Like, who's in the background, right? And I ask myself this often. I don't understand why in the world that they think, and they take hard hits. Bud Light took a humongous hit. There's a lot of people that took hits for doing these things, so they know it's not profitable,
right?
But yet they do it anyway. I want to know what that sales pitch sounds like. What does that sales pitch sound like to tell me that this is what I should do, and this is how I should name my team, and these are the values that I should push, when I know that a majority of people feel the exact opposite? Welcome back, Tony. we got a little bit in and out with Tony here, but they how do you sell that? I mean, what is that? I want to know, what a normal person with common sense hears that sales pitch and goes, yeah, that's what we should do. It makes no sense. It's an act of racism. That's what it is. It's erasing. It's basically burying the culture, or truly appropriating the culture, or saying, I don't want to be held to account for having this name. And they're so afraid of the minority, not the majority. Tony, tell me, the numbers are like 90%. Am I understanding that correctly, as far as the amount of people that you've polled nationwide that want these names returned, that want the legacy back?
Yeah, well, if it was us polling, then it could be argued against, but it's not us polling. It's professional, independent research organizations over 20 years, 2 decades, starting with Annenberg Public Policy, and then you had the Associated Press, the Harris Research Group, the Washington Post, and it always comes in right around 90% of Native Americans have no problem with or support these names and images. And it's that 10% that they always cater to, and they skip over nine of me to get to one of them. And then you talk about the fan base. I mean, I giving up their decades long name and image traditions, it's got to be upwards of 99%. So it's just something that it needs to stop. It is racism. It's racism against Native Americans. It is a modern day Indian removal campaign.
Is exactly what it is.
This is where we need to stop it, right? This is why you guys have started a petition. If you guys go to nagaeducation.org, that's NAGA education.org, there's actually petitions that you can sign, spread it around, so we can stop this woke cancel culture, this purge of Native Americans, or even minorities. But right now we're fighting for Native American representation to be able to come back, because right now there is a cultural genocide or a cultural purge of Native Americans. Nobody wants to see them because they're being told that seeing Native Americans is racist. We believe that's wrong. And like he said, 90% of Native Americans believe it's wrong as well. There are some loud activists out there, people like Lakota Man, and he's a popular account on X. But people like that will come out and say, you're not allowed to use my Native American culture as X. It's like, okay, but it's not specifically yours. Okay, what we're trying to do is, like, I don't want to see the complete erasure of Native Americans. We played such a vital role in American history. Like, I absolutely love this country, and I'm so glad that I found you guys and that we were able to meet and we're starting to work together, because I love this country, and Native Americans played an incredibly important role, not just in the battlefields, but in the Constitution itself. Like, there's so much in this country that has Native Americans deeply embedded in our culture. And when we remove the representation, we are literally erasing American history. And
that's right.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit before the show, that there is this Marxist, these
disease, a virus, whatever you want to call it.
It is a woke mind virus that wants to erase American history, and Native Americans are now 1% of the population. It seems that they want to erase them first, and that's a huge chunk of American history, and I don't want to see it. So go to nagaeducation.org and you can sign the petition, spread it around, so we can stop this purge, and we can actually start reclaiming our history and reclaiming American history and teaching it. Like you guys say, what is it? Education, not eradication? Or did I get that backwards?
Educate,
not eradicate.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Here's the big takeoff of where we're at now. Is we have a specific campaign to bring back the Cleveland Indians, and it started with a letter that was sent out to the 4 candidates for the U.S. Senate in Ohio. You've got Matt Dolan, the brother of the owner of the Cleveland Indians, Paul Dolan, running for the GOP primary, up against Bernie Moreno, and I believe the Secretary of State LaRose. And then on the Democrat side, you have the incumbent Sherrod Brown. We sent a letter to each one of those individuals, and in it we highlighted I think it was 2018, 2019 comment by Paul Dolan in Cleveland.com, where he states emphatically that he will not change the Cleveland Indians name, and that he had the backing of Manfred, the commissioner of baseball. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing that we pointed out is that the eradicators have made the rules. If you're going to keep a native theme, the eradicators made this up, and that the rule is you have to partner with a tribe. Okay, this started at the high school level with states like Washington and Oregon and Colorado, and
it's my state.
Starting to stack up. Yeah, that hey, if you're a high school, a K through 12 school in the state, you have to get permission from a tribe to maintain a native theme. Okay, so that's something that they made up. It started back in 2005 with the NCAA, and their policy against Native American names, images, and mascots. And they did the carve out as well. They started it. You have to get rid of your native, name, imagery, and traditions unless you get the permission of a tribe. And then that's why you see the Florida State Seminoles, the Utah Utes, and some of those teams still with native names and imagery. And at the minor league level and the professional level, there is no mandate. There is nothing that stipulates that you have to abide by this. But every single team in that category follows that. The Spokane Indians with the Spokane tribe in Washington, and then last year you had the Indianapolis Indians partner with the Miami tribe of Indiana, and then at the professional level you have the Chicago Blackhawks that have a long-standing relationship with the Sac and Fox Nation, the Kansas City Chiefs with a working group of tribes in their area, and the Atlanta Braves with the Eastern Band Cherokee. You notice that the Major League Baseball team, Atlanta Braves, didn't cave in. I'm sure that they probably heard the same thing from Manfred, but
they're trying to go for him now.
Well, and we talked to the Atlanta Braves, and they told him where they can stick it. They're not changing. Dolan had the opportunity to change that. And let me break news tonight in that letter. We have a tribe that has deep historic roots to the state of Ohio that would be willing to give the Cleveland Indians that exemption if they were willing to partner. So maybe that wasn't on the table when Dolan made his decision, but it's on the table now. And so Dolan, here you go. Here's your opportunity to get in line.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
No, he was really on a roll.
Man.
He's going to be back
because I personally don't know which tribe he's speaking of, but I'm hoping it's either Penobscot, Passamaquoddy aren't local to Ohio, essentially, but they are to Maine. But hopefully, being that the Cleveland Indians moniker was named after, one of their men, Louis Francis Sackalexas, hopefully they could maybe use that as a piggyback also. Because he was
point being is that the excuse is not there anymore. Right. If you're, it's identity politics at its highest form.
Right.
Yeah, you can only use our name, or you can only use our culture if you then have the permission of people from that culture to do so. Now,
that seems,
you can talk for and against even that mindset, because I firmly believe that Native American culture is American culture by its very nature.
It's indigenous culture.
Just like Black History Month, it's American History Month. Black history is American history. Can you imagine taking the name Black Entertainment Television and just making it entertainment television? They'd lose their minds.
Sure.
It's the same thing. When you're looking at people that have grown up in a culture of this is my team. I grew up with the Redskins mainly around me because the Colts left in the middle of the night. You know that story.
Right.
And so, I mean, everybody loved the Redskins. My dad also Native American. My whole family on my dad's side Native American, 100%. My mom's German and Irish, blonde hair, blue eyes. But the thing is that no one ever seen that name or even questioned the name Redskins as ever having a negative connotation to it. No one thought that. When you thought Redskins, you thought football. That's what you thought. When you think Cleveland Indians, you think baseball. When you think Chief Wahoo, you get pictures of eating peanuts at the baseball field, watching the game, listening to the announcers. There's a whole thing. It's part of American culture, and the Native American culture should be a big part of that. So when you got Americans, America's pastime, removing Native American symbolism from it, it's very un-American.
It is.
I mean,
I absolutely agree with that. It is incredibly un-American. And this is what I was talking about earlier with these Marxists and communists coming in to destroy it, because what they're doing is they are attacking anything that they can and making it they're giving out the worst possible interpretation of a word, Indians. And they're saying, well, Indians are from India. So Isn't that insulting to you? And we are sitting here saying, no, it's not, because we call ourselves Indians. Like I said,
you just insulted India. But you just insulted India by asking the question, right?
Yeah. Well, the National Congress of American Indians was founded in 1944. Still goes on to this day. So, and that's ran by Native Americans. So, what are you going to say to that? How come we have how can we possibly have that, but say that the name Indians itself is racist? So what they do is they will interpret a word in the worst possible way that they can, and they will spread that around and use that to emotionally blackmail people into believing that they're racist for saying it, or they're racist for repeating it, or they're racist for liking the Cleveland Indians. And now it's your fault. You're part of the problem. It's this whole white guilt. I mean, it ties into this entire white guilt thing that they want to.
And then you have the National Congress of American Indians, like you're citing, being one of the biggest advocates for getting rid of Indians, the name Indians, and they have the term in there. So, NAGA sent a formal request to the Cleveland Indians to have a seat at the table with Dolan in the same way that he met with members of the radical American Indian movement, representing 10% of the Native American opinion. Tony, and here we are, NAGA representing 90%.
Can you expound on that story? Because I remember when you told me that story. So you guys wanted to go meet with them, and they didn't take your meeting. They instead gave you to some low level folks, and then decided to meet with the AIM, who is a very, very well, I'll let you say what they are, but they don't represent natives as a whole. They are a very small minority portion of natives. Yes. And so what happened? You requested a meeting
for a long time. Yeah, they've been around for a long time, but I would say that they are the equivalent of the Native American type of Antifa. You do a quick Google search on them. They have a history of violence, of pure radicalism. They are totally unrepresentative of the Native American community. That's who Paul Dolan met with, had a seat at the table. NAGA, representing the 90%, asked to have that same seat at the table. We got a Zoom call with 3 low-level, very low-level millennials, got a pat on the head, and then we got informed not too long later that thank you for your participation, and we've decided to move on from the Cleveland Indians. And that was that. So there was no real effort.
Touch your phone because your phone's going to go to sleep. So what I want to do is I want to encourage the people watching this, right? There's quite a bit. I encourage you all to go to the Cleveland Indian website. Go there. Hit where it says contact us. Find email addresses. Repost this everywhere. This podcast right now, post this everywhere that you can. The same way, with the same fervor, with the same everything that you fought for Holden to get Holden to the Super Bowl. Guys, this is big. This is that big. We need to make sure that we're heard, that our voices are heard, that we stand up for Native American culture, that we stand against that woke ideology that is erasing Native American culture from everything, everywhere. And it's time that it's called out for what it is. Stop bending the knee to these progressives that just want to erase and eradicate American history. And when I'm saying American history, I'm talking about Native American history and the representation therein.
I would encourage, but also in the letter that we sent to the 4 senatorial candidates, we asked them, we included a pledge, and we asked them to sign the pledge and return it to NAGA.
Okay, so there's a pledge.
If they become the candidate, Bernie Marino, Matt Dolan, Sherrod Brown, LaRose, and tell them, hey, you got the pledge, sign the pledge, make the commitment to stand with the majority. This is a majority rule society, not a mob rule. Baseball is America's pastime, not anti-Americans' pastime.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I hope Sherrod Brown really listens to that, because I know he's a huge Indians fan. Guardians fan, whatever he wants to spew now. But he definitely, he'll kowtow. So hopefully he does kind of push that narrative that you were speaking of.
So the culture of the industry inside the sports arena.
Sure.
Can you what can you tell us? What do you think that the people in the industry itself feel about this? Whether or not they're saying what they really feel behind it when the camera's on, that's one thing. But you have candid conversations with these people. You've worked around them. Tell us.
I was in the industry for a few years. I didn't let everybody know my heritage. It was almost like when I told someone, they were like, be careful what you say about that, because, some people will get sensitive about it and kind of, they'll try and, I wouldn't say shut me up, but they just won't hear me. I'll go in one ear and out the other. And here I would be saying, as a source of, pride, hey, I'm actually related to Louis Francis Sackalexas, and the whole Cleveland Indians, moniker, yada, yada, yada. And I think the people in the industry, it's almost like it's too big for them to want to talk about it. But when the lights are on, they'll be like, well, they'll kowtow, they'll bend the knee, they'll act like, they'll go with whatever, the Dolans are doing or saying about it. But I've kept some, I wouldn't say receipts, but I still have conversations with people who are still in the business, and they definitely are like, yeah, this is ridiculous. There's no reason for this to be happening. And everybody knows that the Dolans bend the knee, Rob Manfred, he's the reason why this happened, and
tell us that story. Go ahead.
Well, like I said, after the Indians went to the World Series in 2016, Rob just came in and said, get rid of, Chief Wahoo, find something else. And then they came up with the block C on the hat. And then, at some point they were like, now let's get rid of the Indians name. It's almost like we had 3 names in like a 5-year span, from the Indians to the Black Sea, now we're the Guardians, it was very disheartening. And a lot of people, listen, man, a lot of people don't like to talk about it. They're like, well,
a lot of people are scared.
Yeah. They don't want to show their true colors. Cleveland is a pretty big market sports wise, they're top 15 easily, and, no one wants to lose their job over their personal opinion. You know how that industry works. I definitely do. And it's been years since I've been in it, but I still have friends in it and I still know how they truly feel. And, I've had, text conversations, and there's definitely, I would say 80% of them, I would say probably are like, we wish it would have remained the Indians. Bottom line.
This is a common problem that we see throughout society in general, is a lack of courage to stand up, because you know what? The cancel culture mob is very effective. It scares people to feel like they're going against the grain in a way that is perceived as racist, right? And so social media hasn't been around for too long, but after 2012, when Facebook and Twitter and everything got really big,
but it's powerful.
Shocked people. It shocked CEOs. It shocked these companies into thinking that the small activist groups on social media is real life, and that people actually believe this stuff. And the activist groups found out really quick that it works incredibly well to do a campaign online against something, calling it racist, or calling, the mascot itself racist, that these people who are running these companies are so afraid, and they believe that it's the larger sentiment of the society coming down on them. And I can kind of understand how that is, but it's not real life. It is not the majority opinion. And you need to be able to stand up against something like that. So when they come at you and say, hey, that's racist, or you're racist for supporting that, you know what you say? No, I'm not racist. That's it. No, it's not. I actually like it. And so does 90% of Native Americans. So now what?
Well, look, growing up, I never heard a bad thing about it. Just through my dad's side of the family. Not once did I ever hear anything disparaging in regards to the word Indians. Like, I can't believe, they, like I said, it just didn't. It was an honor. Like the tribe, the Penobscot, the Passamaquoddies never had an issue with it, never. And to this day, I still don't. I don't know if they ever did. There's never been any. I've never seen any articles, nothing, disseminating from that. So I don't see the problem why the word Indians is it's so bad. I mean,
it's not a problem. It's a problem made. It's a created problem by activists so they can target and get these cultural erasing victories, right?
Well, because racism is big money for people who are being racist. They start organizations and they get rich because they get donations, but they have to find a problem first. If they don't have a problem, they have to invent one so they become necessary. And then when you stir up the emotions of the people and you get them involved, then you start hitting people for donations. This is exactly what happened after the George Floyd riots with BLM and others who actually didn't support their own communities. They went off into the hills and bought big houses and got the hell away from their communities. You got to look at the actions of people. Jesus said, no, you'll know them by their fruits. Just look at them, look at their actions, look at what they actually do in their own lives. Jordan Peterson, I said this yesterday, but I'll say it again. He says, clean your own rooms. If you take a look at most of these people that are trying to utilize the term racist against others to get their point across, what you'll find most likely is that they themselves are being the true racist. And they're just being very covert about their racism. But if you give them everything they want, like I stated before, what you end up with is no representation for culture across the board. You can't have cartoons, you can't have depictions, you can't have certain names. Hell, now you can't even say certain words. When are we going to wake up and stop the insanity and start holding people accountable? Well, it's a great thing it's an election year. It's a great thing it's an election year. Tony brought it up earlier. We got a guy who's connected to this, who is on the political right, who is by relation involved with the owner of the team. So you break that relationship down, Tony?
Well, it's Matt Dolan, who is the brother of Paul Dolan, the owner, and he's running for the GOP senatorial candidacy. And his brother, Paul Dolan, is supposed to be a Republican who you would think would not be on the side of the left, let alone the extreme radical Marxist left. But that's exactly who he bent the knee to. My understanding is, and I saw it in a Fox News article, is that Bernie Moreno, his opponent, who is endorsed by Jim Jordan and Trump, offered him $1 billion to buy the team so that they could keep it the Indians.
Right.
So,
wow.
Paul Dolan changed the name Indians. Yeah, I'm sure Manfred put the heat on him. He did not have to. He did it by choice. He decided that he was going to go with the radicals and give his fan base the middle finger. And it really sucks because unlike Bud Light, where you can call for a boycott successfully because you got 50 other beers that you can choose from, you've only got one local team that you've invested your entire life with and supported. And there, just like where I'm at with the University of Illinois, with the Chief Wick and then the Fighting Sioux, any of the Washington Redskins, the fans, it would be it's the easiest thing in the world to say, well, just boycott them and bring it to their knees. It's hard to break that decades-long loyalty and love. And they use that against the fan base because they know that they don't have, 50 other teams to choose from locally. You've got one franchise in your area that you've invested in. And to take that away from your fan base by Paul Dolan, that is an act of absolute traitorism to your fan base.
So, guys,
does he have
before we go any further, I want to take a break and play and give a little bit of time to our sponsors, and we're going to come back and talk about this some more. We'll be right back.
Greetings, kindred spirits. Welcome to Smoking Gun Coffee, where the essence of the land infuses every sip. It carries the spirit of reverence for the earth and its gifts. As you indulge in our carefully crafted blends, envision the dance of the winds and the whispers of ancient trees. Let each cup be a journey through time, a tribute to the harmony found in nature. Smoking Gun Coffee, a ritual of warmth, a connection to the sacred. Embrace the rich tapestry of flavors and join us in honoring the legacy of the land. Taste the spirit, savor the journey. Smoking Gun Coffee, where every cup is a celebration of our shared connection.
Go to smokingguncoffee.com, use discount code Native Patriot. One word.
And you can also go to thepatriotsprayer.com and click the Tribe of Patriots link. It'll get you there the same way. I also posted in the chat the link to the petition for everyone to sign. But I also want to add to the fact that, guys, spam the hell out of Bernie Moreno. I mean, you're on his X pages. We got a lot of people that watch us in Ohio. Across the board, we have a predominantly right-wing audience, for sure. You guys know how we feel about these issues. You know why we fight for these issues. So it's up to you to go and lean on these people that expect you to vote for them to make sure they're doing what you want. So lean on him, make this an issue in his race, and make sure he has the opportunity to answer the question. Ask him the question. What are you going to do with the Indians? Where do you fall? Where do you lean? Make him answer the question, and then hold him to his word. Hold him to his word.
Well, you know, and
So
the thing is that this isn't just about baseball, right? This isn't just about the team changing the name. This is about the entire Marxist movement that has been attacking American history. This is one of the reasons why I absolutely love to jump on board with this, because American history is important. Native American history is just as important. So when they're culturally erasing Native Americans, everybody needs to understand that it's not just us that's getting erased. It's you guys next. They're not just coming for Native Americans. They're coming for all of American history. They're starting with Native Americans because it can be an easy target, and they can use white guilt to bully people into submission and saying that, well, you're racist. This country was built by white men for white men, yada, yada, yada. And they can bully you. The majority of people in this country are still white. Okay. They can bully the majority of people in this country into believing that they are racist if they participate in supporting the Cleveland Indians or the Washington Redskins. And it is a tactic that they've been using. So this is why I am so adamant about something like this, is because they are erasing American history. And I want to put my foot down and put a stop to it. So, like I said,
they're rewriting it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get rid of what's already happened, but they're rewriting it for sure.
Yeah, all they got to do is lie through about 2 generations of people, and the culture and the heritage and the history will disappear. If we're not continually being their counter to everything they say, if we're not there to say no and tell the truth the entire time, when we stop, they'll keep speaking, and a generation will pass, and then everything we feel, think, and believe, and we're espousing here, that'll be gone. That'll be history. That's why they start so young. That's why the Marxism starts off in school, believe it or not, as early as kindergarten and first grade. And it's done with DEI in mind, which is, dressed up to look like something that's more palatable. That's something that is more for equality, when in fact it's not. It's exactly the opposite. It promises an outcome. It lowers the standard and the bar across the board for education, no matter what, career path you're taking. And it says that one group of people should be elevated while another group of people is suppressed. This is what we fought against. That's the whole purpose of the civil rights movement. This is why we fought so hard. Now here come the Confederacy 2.0 back here again, and they dressed up their movement to look a little different, but they're doing the same things. And now the Native American culture is their target. And it's going to take everybody to be intentional. Don't just watch the podcast and take the information in. Go sign the petition, call somebody, email somebody. If you're not the one that's going to go out and protest and talk to the people and call them out for what they are, support the Native American Guardians Association so they can. Get on the websites, educate yourself, so that when they come at you with these really stupid talking points, that you're able to respond immediately and tell the truth in the face of the lies that they love telling every day, all the time. So Tony, go ahead. I know your phone started cutting you out a little bit, and you were talking earlier about the letter that you had sent. And I want people to understand what was in that letter. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. First of all, we start out by using Paul Dolan's own words in a 2018 Cleveland.com article where he says emphatically, we're not changing the name Indians. The commissioner, Manfred, agrees with us, so we're not changing the name. So we point that out directly. Then the second big takeaway is that when Dolan made the decision, he met with a representative of the American Indian movement, which is the most radical Marxist Indian group in the nation. And that's who he sat down and met with in forming his decision. My organization, Native American Guardians Association, sent a letter asking for the same seat at the table. And what did we get? We got a Zoom meeting with 3 very low-level millennials. They patted us on the head and sent us away. We never got to talk to the top management people, let alone Dolan himself. And then the third takeaway is that at every level, high school, the NCAA, all of these blue states that have banned Native American names and images from high school teams, and the NCAA banning Native American themes from college teams, have carved out an exemption that if you have the support of a tribe, then you can maintain your native theme. That is something that the cancel culture authoritarians have set up. This is the standard. So if you have this, then you can keep your native theme. Well, maybe there wasn't a tribe on board when Dolan made this decision. There is a tribe on board right now that has deep historic roots to Ohio. I'm not going to disclose who it is, but I would like to bring the parties together, and they would be willing to have the same partnership endorsement with the Cleveland team if they would return to the Indians. So that's on the table. And
no more excuses.
This letter was sent to the 4 candidates for U.S. Senate, including Matt Dolan, the brother of Paul Dolan, Republican, and then you have Bernie Moreno, Republican, who offered to buy the team from Paul Dolan so that they could keep it the Indians. And then you also have LaRose, I think he's the state's attorney running, and then you have Sherrod Brown, the Democrat. We sent them this letter highlighting this with this big announcement. Hey, it's time to bring back the Cleveland Indians. And then we included a pledge that we want them to sign the pledge. And it basically states that if they become the candidate for U.S. Senate, that they will use their influence to bring back the Cleveland Indians to the enjoyment of 90% of the Native American community and 99% of their fan base. That's what's on the table.
Woo! Let's put a little fire under their feet. I'm down for that.
That's it, baby. That's it.
I was looking while you were there. I was looking at some of the history behind AIM, and over again, I find, like you said, AIM would be like the BLM version of it if the Native Americans had a BLM. That's Antifa, same thing. They're not a group that's they're not very diplomatic from what I'm seeing here, and very violent, very militant group, and that's fine, and that's okay. But realize that we're not going to
represent all of us.
Issue. We're not scared, and we're going to continue to push for what's right. And we think that all groups. It doesn't just, like you said. This is so much bigger than Native Americans, though we're focusing on the Native American aspect of this right now. It's much bigger than all of that. It's like when we look at the issues that are taking place with Trump, where they're inventing things. Yes, it seems as though we're defending him, but the idea behind it, we're not just defending him, we're defending ourselves. Because if we allow that precedent to be set, then they can apply it universally everywhere to you and me. I mean, where does it stop? No cartoons allowed, no this. Then it goes to what? I mean, kids won't have a damn thing to watch on TV. I mean, it goes from sports. I mean, they have to find something else. Once they eradicate the culture from sports, then what are they going to do? Sit on their hands? No, donations have to keep flowing. Our organizations have to keep running. So we have to go find incidents. And I don't put it past people like this to create incidents where there are none. I mean, radical groups do that constantly, just so that their name stays in the news. That's what they do.
We just want to enjoy life, man.
I've been to many games, many games, either from the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium to the Jake to Progressive, wherever you want to call it, and I've only a handful of times seen protesters and some exchanges. Had some verbal exchanges with them, asked them, what tribe do you represent, and they come off pretty harsh, like it doesn't matter, I represent any Native American. And I'm like, well, you don't represent me. You don't represent the namesake of the Cleveland Indians, which is a blood relative of mine. Yeah, it's down a few centuries or whatever, 3-4 degrees,
generations.
Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact that you're doing someone else's dirty work and you really don't give a shit. You're just there.
If you loved your mom and dad, if you loved your family, or you loved whatever it is you love, I'll use mom and dad as an example. If you love them, would you just shut them up in a room and lock the door to never look at them ever again? Right. What would you, how do you call that love? Erasing somebody is not an act of love. It's an act of racism.
Well, they're paid protesters, they
yes. That's what I'm getting at. Who's paying them?
Well, it's obviously they might as well just be lobbyists. This is what they do. I've never seen, like I keep saying, I've never seen anyone from the tribe, Penobscot or Passamaquoddy, protesting at any Indians game ever that I've ever been to. Obviously, I haven't been to every game, but I've been to hundreds. And there's hundreds. So there's no doubt in my mind.
You've got AIM, the American Indian Movement, and I think that they are largely dismantled. There's a few broken chapters with maybe 2 or 3 people in them, like Ohio is really strong. But then you've got the National Congress of American Indians, and they proudly display on their website that they're funded by the George Soros organization.
Oh, so Jesus.
MoveOn.org.
Yeah. What's that?
Wow.
This is enough.
Yeah. So this is what we're, these people that Rob Manfred and Paul Dolan and whoever else, they're listening to the enemy of your fan base.
Yes.
They're the enemy of America. They're the enemy of everything that is good. Paul Dolan did not have to do this. And the Cleveland Indians fan base needs to speak out loudly and clearly. You made a mistake. Do the right thing. It's never too late to do the right thing. Bring back the Cleveland Indians. Paul Dolan, bring back the Cleveland Indians. Bernie Moreno, Matt Dolan, his brother, get in Dolan's face and say either bring it back or sell it to somebody that will have the guts to bring it back and stand with 90% of Native America and 99.9% of your fan base.
Boom. That's it.
So guys,
mic drop.
Get in the chat if you have questions right now. While we have these guys here, feel free to throw some questions up here, and I'll get the answers for you. So this is as interactive as it gets. We have a legacy here. We have a representative from the Native American Guardians Association, and I don't mind questions coming in from people who agree with us, but I would love to have somebody in the chat who doesn't agree. Someone who can throw a question up there. And maybe who's not fully on our team and may be able to learn something by this conversation. So, we welcome all the questions. I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys. I apologize.
One of the odd things that Eddie and I participated in last month in getting, I got a little picture here. We got Holden Armenta to the Super Bowl, right? And we kind of defended him from the legacy media and this outrage mob, saying that him wearing a headdress was offensive and racist, right? And that he wore blackface or whatever, But my main, one of the main things that I brought up about that is like when you said that the AIM movement, I speak for all Indians. Like, well, no, you don't, because Native Americans, I think when it was originally documented, they had about 10 or 12 documented tribes that wore that particular kind of regalia, and then it was adopted by other Native Americans throughout the country as America became more industrialized. It was adopted, it was appropriated by natives from natives, because to tourists, They wanted to look like a familiar Native American. So part of American culture is being able to adopt something culturally beautiful from another culture
Assimilate.
and bringing it in. Yeah, it's assimilation. So like I was raised that America is a melting pot, right? Not a multicultural society. We are a melting pot. We are able to have a white guy from across the country come over here and he can participate in whatever kind of Native American thing that we're doing. And then you know what? He can go back to his home and then he can do it there. I mean, it is so frustrating to me when there's people that will say like my heritage is not a costume and things like that, because spreading and sharing a culture with your fellow Americans is what made America great. That is one of the most beautiful things that you could possibly do. I am a product of interracial marriage. If people weren't allowed to share cultures, yeah, I mean, really, if we weren't allowed to share, I mean, something even that intimate, then I wouldn't be here. If everybody wants to stick on their own and stay with this multicultural society where they start divvying up everybody based on the melanin in your skin and your heritage, and everybody's supposed to keep with their own. If we continue down that path, then there will never be somebody like me again. I have a white mom, I have a Native dad.
They're returning to the day and age of segregation. They're having black only dorms and black only graduations and things that they're pushing, but it's not the people in those communities pushing for it.
Right.
It's these wokesters that are pushing this stuff down the throats of other people who disagree. This is what happens. The people, the millennials and those people from AIM, which are a very small percentage of the population as a whole, seem to have these giant voices on these megaphones as if they speak for everyone, and there's one monolithic people that all feel and think the exact same thing at the same time, and that's so far from the truth.
You talk about cultural appropriation. We all appropriate from the very best of all of our blended cultures.
That's how we learn.
If you go to a Native American powwow, what do? They invite non-natives to participate in some dances. They have vendors setting up with Native American jewelry and so forth for anybody, non-natives, to purchase and to wear and to celebrate the culture. You get some of these tribal politicians that are against cultural appropriation. Well, they wear suits to their business. Did that come from Native American culture? No, that came from European culture. So they're white culture by wearing a suit to their business council meeting and stuff. It's ridiculous. We all share from our blended society the very best of our cultures, and we celebrate them in a positive way. It's just the people with a negative, hate America, Marxist mentality that are doing this. And people in positions of power like Paul Dolan should absolutely not bend the knee to them, but tell them where the door is. And he did not do that. Here's an opportunity for him to say, you know what, I made a mistake. I didn't listen to the 90%. I was pressured into it by Manfred, whoever else. I made a mistake. Now let's bring back the Cleveland Indians, and the Native American community will be well satisfied. The fan base will be well satisfied. It's time to put declaration. This is the end of cancel culture right here. This is the beginning of the end of cancel culture.
And that's exactly what would happen if they announced tomorrow that the Cleveland Indians got their name back. It would be so astronomical. It would be the biggest thing going in the news. And they would and if let's say they only did it for a profit. Let's say we don't know what their intentions are. It doesn't matter, because the moment you do that, people are racing back out to go buy your jerseys. People are racing back to the stadium. People are going to start to care about the baseball team again. Instead of just like what we were talking about, Jim and I, before we came on, is that people are now very comfortable within their safe places. We'd rather go to a sports bar around our familiar faces, that people that we know we're okay around. We can say whatever without hurting someone's feelings or offending somebody. I would rather go watch it there than in a stadium that bend the knee to woke culture. And now all of a sudden I got to refer to a team as the Guardians. Well, I still have never referred to the Redskins as anything other than that. I mean, if I'm making a joke, I might call them the commies. I mean, but that's as far as I'm going. That's as far as I'm going. I know who they are, and I know what they are to me, and I refuse to have them draw the box that I must exist within. I have to live within the box that you drew and call the team by the name that you decided, but you got it from those guys who I completely disagree with on almost 99% of all issues. No, I'm not playing along. I'm not participating. And if you want to change it, you got to have the same damn attitude. And it's time to stop being nice, right?
But
us here.
There's a new fan base of Indians fans, Guardians fans, whatever you want to call it, and it's these millennials. It's like a lot of people think that the Dolan did this is to appease this new younger fan base because they treat the park more like a social event than they do a baseball event. And it's apparent, and I know for a fact 90% of the people that I know definitely believe that. You can watch the TVs. When you watch TV and they pan to the crowd, half the crowd's on their phone or the other half is staring into, to the abyss. They're not even watching baseball. And the Dolans have put in so many new bells and whistles at the park to appease this crowd. It's almost like it should be like Millennial Park. They might as well just call it Millennial Park, because us older guys who just want to sit there, have a couple beers, yell a couple things out at one of the guys in the outfield, you suck, Dozier, something, you know what I mean? We enjoy that type of, baseball experience.
Yeah. You get to a point where you're like, damn it, put me on the field. I want to win. Just put me in the game.
The Dolans, it's almost, they're hated. They are, I hate to say hated, but they are despised by the fan base by so much because they're not putting money into the players, but they're putting in so much more money for the bells and whistles, new seats, some restoration, new stuff all around the park. I mean, they are doing a lot.
As a result, I guess they're changing the price of the tickets.
They're doing a ton of renovations, and they will be for the next year and a half. But they're doing a lot of bells and whistles, and a lot of people are noticing it that are the younger crowd, and it's like us older guys, like, we don't care. We get us a power bat at first or at right, So, and they can't
actually care about the game itself.
Yeah, they can't appease both of us, so they go with this newer crowd, because us guys, we're only going to be around for another 10, 15, 20 years, So
hopefully I got news for you.
Come on.
It's like they're transitioning to a newer crowd, a newer ballpark. They're not going to build a new one.
I got news for you. We're being intentional. The folks who think and believe the way that we do, make sure that our grandchildren and our children know what it is that we feel and why we feel that way. It's up to us, people, because everyone outside of your front door, you have to assume, is educating and indoctrinating your kids or grandkids, what have you, with a different set of values and principles than you have. I have these conversations with my grandson all the time. What did you learn in school today? Okay. And I'll go a step further. Did anyone say anything about this or that? And I'll just get his feelings on the matter and then ask him why he feels that way and then teach him. It's got to be intentional. If the only thing that you're doing ever is correcting them when they do something wrong without guiding the path that they're going down, intentionally pointing them in the right direction and telling them why they have to walk that way and why that's wrong, you're just going to end up, one, you're going to lose your family, because I can tell you, I've seen families split on these issues. Well, we know that the Armentas had issues as well behind positions they took inside of their own family. It happens to me. It happens to every one of us. People, it's so important that you embed your values and your principles into your children and teach them, because if not, the world's going to teach them, and the world's what you're complaining about. That's what we're here talking about. We're talking about the backwards logic of the world, of a racist society saying they're marching down the road against racism while they're doing it. It's the most backwards damn thing you ever heard of in your life.
Projecting.
Yes.
So everybody, I want everybody to know, because we do have a few more viewers than we did last time I said this. Go to nagaeducation.org. That is NAGA education.org, and sign the petition. There's an actual petition to reclaim the name, the Indians, and we want to get this petition signed by as many people as we possibly can, and then hold it to the feet of these politicians and say, and of the owners, and say, hey, look at this. We actually have a substantial majority of people that want this name back, and we actually cherish the history and heritage of this team. So let's I mean, I would love to see them come out. What a beautiful thing it would be to have them come out and say, you know what, I made a mistake. Let's change the name back to what it was, because it used to be in honor of Indians, and now it's not. You know, that would be such a beautiful moment, and I would love to see that. So yeah, go to nagaeducation.org.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe Eddie did post it in the chat as well. So, and I posted it on my X page. I posted on my X page as well. So if you follow me on Twitter, it's right under this live stream. If you're watching it on X, I posted the link there as well. So
if you follow us, though, do us the favor, taking the link to this broadcast, take it and post it and send it to Bernie Moreno. Send it in every Cleveland chat room that you can find everywhere. Facebook, X, it doesn't matter where it is. We have a Facebook page too. You can share it from there. But get the information out, because once we ask the question and they're forced to answer it, we can hold them to their words. We can say, okay, well, if that's your position, let's make sure you keep the promise that you're making, because this has already happened. The promise was already made, and the promise has been broken. So what we're trying to do, this whole broadcast is about holding people's feet to the fire and forcing them to do the things that they said they would do. The Cleveland Indians should have maintained their name. That was the word that we got. That was the promise that was broken. And now we want to hold their feet to the fire for it.
And not only that, Tony has said that there is a Native American tribe willing to back this as well. So we have the movement. We have the numbers. We just need to get the word out. We need to get the petition signed. We need to put their feet to the fire, and we need to stop this Marxist cancel culture BS that has been erasing American history. This is how we reclaim the culture. I'll say this is one of the routes. This is one of the ways, because if we can't maintain our history and stop it from being rewritten, if we can't stop that, then we will lose our culture. Right now it's Native Americans. Next it's you. So unfortunately, guys, I have to get going. I have an appointment that I got to get going to. So we got to wrap this up.
Hey, but I do want to implore everyone to go over to our Rumble channel at rumble.com/The Patriots Prayer and follow us there. Okay, that's the biggest way you can support us, as well as following us on all of our social media sites. But guys, where we need our focus on is on the Rumble account. So please do us a favor. If you're watching here now, go to rumble.com/The Patriots Prayer and give us a follow over there. We very much appreciate it. Go follow the Native American Guardians Association on X at Guardians Native, and on Facebook as well at Native American Guardian Association there too. And we're not leaving this story. This is not something that we're doing today and we're forgetting tomorrow. This is a movement. So you're going to see a lot of this. And every time we get a new angle, then we're going to drive this further in. We're going to start pushing this constantly. And it's going to take all of us to do it. We need you guys to start making phone calls, to start sending emails, to going to everywhere you can to get the word out. Share this link and everything else that's coming. Jim, we want to have you back on. If we do end up with Bernie Moreno on here, and that's what we're pushing for, I'd love to have you on that show as well with us, so that we can have Bernie Moreno there and someone who knows the history, the culture is tied to.
He's a good guy. We should have JD Vance on too.
Yeah, I'm willing to talk to anyone. It doesn't even matter what side of the political aisle they're on. I'm willing to talk to anyone who says that they're willing to help us with this issue. It's not a right or left issue. It's a right or wrong issue. And this is a racist thing that's being completely done covertly to erase the Native American culture. And that's why we're fighting, and we're not going to stop. And that even means if we have to run over Native Americans in order to get there, like AIM, like Lakota Man, like whoever's going to stand in their damn way, we're not going to stop. And then don't let it be you who we focus on, because that's what's going to happen. If you stand in front of us, we're just going to focus on you, and then that's going to go bad too. So guys, listen, follow us, and with all the passion that you hear us pushing these issues, do the same, because we can't do it without you. Without you, we're just talking heads.
Tony, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, just it's time. If you're a true Cleveland Indians fan, if you're just a culture warrior, this is the time to grab your pitchfork and ride to the sound of the guns. Enough is enough. This is where we reclaim the stolen land. We take back the Indians.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah,
We need somebody. I don't know if there's a musician in the audience or whatever, but we need a theme song for this. Whoever can come up with the best rock rap song, whoever can come up with the best rock rap song, whatever, I promise you, if you put it out, we'll put it up here.
Hey,
that will be the one we use.
We already have one. It's Michael Stanley Band. He's from Cleveland, so Michael Stanley Band will have one for you next time we do this.
There it is. There it is. You get it to us, and we will use it along with all of the memes, all of the videos, all of the promos. We need a theme song for it. So I task any one of you guys, just send it over. We're going to use it.
Michael
so
Stanley.
We look forward to it. Michael, what is the name of it?
It's Michael Stanley Band, MSB, baby. Michael Stanley Band. He rest in peace. But there's plenty of Cleveland songs out there. Plenty.
Okay. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Like I said, we're going to talk about this again. I guarantee you're going to see a lot of this during this movement, at least once a week. We're going to have Tony back on. We have other members of NAGA, maybe. We don't know, but we're going to continue to push this, and we're not going to stop until we get the result that we want. So, as usual, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. We'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer. You guys have a good one.
My people of this country, and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flag.